guys, it's Nona, and my best friends Julia and Kayla get together every couple weeks and discuss our sisters through the centuries while sipping some drinks. So this week is a little bit special. We have a do-over. It's our one mulligan, so we got it out there. But we recorded Ada Lovelace twice, and I accidentally released the not so great one last week. Whoops. Sorry for the mix-up, but we really hope you enjoy the updated and even more in-depth episode about the mother of computers. Cheerio, mates! We're back at it today with another episode of Tenacious V's podcast. We're going to be discussing Ada Lovelace.
Okay.
Kayla, what do you know?
Okay. So I think, I know a little bit. I know we've talked about her, a little bit before. But I don't really know so much. I know she was big in, the tech advancement.
Mm-hmm.
Is, I guess, how I want to say it. But I don't remember a lot from what you guys have mentioned about her.
Like, technically she was a mathematician.
Yeah.
Maybe verging on engineer, but she was called the first computer programmer.
Okay.
Like, ever, not just the first female.
Just ever.
She was the first person to ever conceive of a computer program.
Okay, see, I was thinking first female. That's huge.
No, this was before a computer was a thing.
Dang. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Computer was a concept.
Yeah, like, it wasn't even a thought at this point, and she came up with a program for it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we'll get there. But, so she was born Ada Augusta Byron, or Augusta Ada Byron, it's written both ways,
Mm-hmm.
on December 10th, 1815, in what is now London, to Lord Byron and Annabel Milbank Byron.
Okay, yeah, so it wasn't even London yet, so computers definitely weren't around.
Yeah. Show. But, so Lord Byron was a poet and just a drunken adulterer. He had all sorts of affairs with men, women, opiates, alcohol, you name it. Like, he was going after it. And he was a pretty terrible, abusive husband and just kind of a shitty guy. But, like, the best poet of his time.
I was gonna say, he's relevant somehow, isn't he? I couldn't think of what it was. Oh, stupid.
But, so he actually leaves Ada and her mom when Ada's 5 weeks old, and just dipped and never saw them again.
So you're gonna read some poems.
Yeah. So he dies when Ada's 10-ish, 8, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but she's a kid when he dies, and she's just obsessed with him her whole life. She's just
the man
about
I never
him.
knew.
But her mom was stoked when he left. She was like, hell yeah.
Well, yeah.
He dipped. We're so excited,
Free woman. She's ready to go.
Yeah. And she just took Ada on the most, opposite path she could to poetry. She was like, you're going to learn math. You're going to learn math and science and just anything to stop you from getting this poetical madness that possessed your father.
Tortured artist syndrome.
Essentially, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so Ada got mad tutoring. She had private tutors her whole childhood, and she taught herself. She was always very, very curious and just learning everything she could. But she was also mentored by Augustus de Morgan, who was the first ever math professor at University of London. So that was a pretty big deal.
That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I mean, that's freshly London.
Yeah. A huge mentor too,
Well, yeah. I think that part of it was just not London yet.
Right.
London was a city, but it just
out
was. It was a suburb at the time, and now it's part of London.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So when she was a teenager, she traveled all over Europe on an educational trip, and she took a massive interest in the mechanics of flight and started to study birds. she was like really into the aviary and
Mhm.
like kind of like how they were able to do that.
Right. Well, yeah.
And she was even into like insects, like basically, all
Mhm.
flying things that. I mean, you gotta think about it, like how does a bird fly?
I don't fucking know. I'm not a bird scientist. That shit's incredible. I mean, like, humans have been since the dawn of fucking humanity fascinated
Yeah.
by
It's
how
the
they get to fly.
hollow bones.
Yeah, they got it. Bees don't have hollow bones.
No, bees are too fat. Bees should not be able to fly.
I know.
You shouldn't be able to fly.
That's
They
just so
do.
incredible. Just flying in general has always just been such a fast, like, that far off, unattainable thing for humans.
And so she's traveling all over Europe, and what is she concerned with? The different flying creatures and each place she's going. She would take like these detailed notes, and she even made like her own little small mechanical bird that could actually flap its wings.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so cool.
Like created this.
That's awesome.
She also like conceptualized a large steam powered horse that you could sit on, and its large wings would flap and like fly you around.
Dude,
So
I
like
love
technically Pegasus,
I know, I was
but
just
she
gonna
called it a
say.
horse.
I was just gonna say, dude, can you imagine like rolling up to work on Pegasus's back?
Or to school, like look at my new ride.
Yeah. Like today, like when I woke up 5 minutes before I was supposed to be at work. It's like, don't worry, I'll be there. I'm taking the Pegasus.
Taking the Pegasus.
I would feel like Hercules all the time.
Dude, right? Can you get a DUI on a Pegasus?
A
Like
PUI.
a slew of laws.
Well, I mean, she would get a charge because she was like 12 to 14 at this time.
Well, yeah, so
You know.
it'd be an issue. It's an FUI.
I'm like, this is where her mind's going. Like, when I was 12 to 14, I was just trying to remember not to pick my nose. Like,
Julia, that's so old. Sorry,
I was trying to write really bad fiction novels.
I was just excited about what VHS I was gonna get
I know,
at
right?
the store.
The
At
Spice
Blockbuster.
Girls new album.
I was excited about when I get a Blockbuster.
I was thinking about the whole time we were there how to convince my mom to buy me Mike and Ike's on the way out.
I love Mike and Ike's.
Oh gosh. But her mind was like super beyond like the age of her body. It's absolutely crazy. When she was 17, she went to a soiree thrown by Charles Babbage.
I love that word.
Soiree.
Soiree. I've always wanted to go to a
And
soiree.
Mr. Charles Babbage changed her life forever.
Oh no.
In a good way. So the night of the party, Babbage was showing off his like little demo piece of a new analytical engine he had come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So he had another engine originally, and it was called the difference engine. But his engineer and him got into a fight, and at the time, the like politics of the time were the engineer had all rights to any and all drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So the engineer took off, and he took all the drawings to build the engine, right?
Yeah.
So Babbage was like fucked. He didn't have that anymore, and he'd gotten like a massive grant to build that thing.
Yeah.
And now he was like had to start over.
SOL.
So while poring over his notes, he figured out like a better, more improved, like higher functioning engine that he could build.
Yeah.
So he started making plans for that. But he couldn't get any money because, as I said, he literally got a $17,000 government grant and like
Which that's
completely
a lot
wasted.
of money.
It's like 60 grand,
whatever,
now, at least.
Yeah, that's
it was
huge.
enough to build 2 warships.
Damn.
Yeah, and so he just like didn't do anything with it. So it was a pretty big deal.
I mean, like, good for him for not just like blowing it, because I'm sure they gave it to him up front.
Yeah. But yeah, so he was just like showing off, kind of trying to fund for that, and like all the other people there were kind of just like, oh, that's like it moves. That's cool. You made a thing that moves. And Ada was looking at it, and she was just like, this is amazing. This will do so many things. I am going to build this.
Mm-hmm.
And she was into it. She was enamored immediately.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was just, she just saw it and just ran. That was her new thing.
So ultimately, Ada and Babbage, they started like working together when she was 17. He was 43.
But they were intellectually equals.
Yeah, he often referred to her in letters to peers as an enchantress of numbers.
Oh, that's sexy.
That's like
I'm not.
Anyways. So they were working together to try to figure out all the ins and outs of the machine. and trying to figure out how to get the funding to build this massive, massive machine. Babbage decided he would take the charge on this and went out to get like money, and he was pleading with every royal society and the government, anybody he can think of, like, give me money for this difference, contraption. He was kind of like a volatile man, so his pleading didn't really go well because he was like, give me money. Give it to me now. This is more important than any other funding.
Yeah. Or like even if he started to approach it nicely, the board would be like, well, what about the last money? He'd be like, well, what about shove it up your ass?
Yeah. Like, oh, well, I need it. It's important.
So he also wasted like 17,000 pounds.
Yeah, that was.
Guys, that's as much as his grant was.
No, that was the grant. He like wasted it. That's what I'm saying.
I just give him credit for not blowing it.
So nobody trusted that he could get anything done with any money they would give him.
Yeah.
And so like nobody wanted to help fund any of this.
I mean, like, I get that. My creditors look at my credit score and
Well, Ada stepped in.
Yeah.
And she wrote a letter to Babbage pleading with him to let her take the lead on gathering money while he remained the genius in the background. She's like, yo, let me get out there.
She had to sell it to him.
Sell this for you.
Oh, yeah. Sell it.
No, not really, guys.
No, I know.
So he declined, Yeah. And
I got it.
the machine was ultimately never built because he was a prideful SOB. Though many people's interest was sparked, including the Italian engineer Luigi Menabra.
Luigi. So, what does Mr. Menabra do?
Ooh.
Mr.
Like
Luigi writes a paper in French about the engine.
But why? Why?
Difference in.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. That was the whole bit that confused me the most with this. Is like, it's an Italian engineer writing a paper about an English machine in French.
So no one could steal it.
I have no idea.
What the
but
actual... Look how smart I am, is like all that says. I can make a fucking computer, the first one in the world, in 3 languages. Just like douchey. But yeah, no, I bet that's just how it feels. But I bet that it was.
It was probably like there was probably a lot
thing.
going on in France or something. I would imagine.
Yeah, like he needed to get it there, maybe for money, or maybe just like he didn't want all his Italian buddies getting in on that.
I don't know.
He wanted to keep it safe.
I have no idea. But so initially Ada was reading through it, and she was like, "This needs to be translated. Like the people here need to read this. Like
she reads
more
French?
people need." Yeah, apparently she spoke multiple languages. Bitch is a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, she also traveled Europe by herself at like 13 and made a mechanical bird.
She probably knew more than English.
I feel like speaking French is not a stretch for her.
No.
So Babbage has to like encourage her, but she ends up translating the paper. She becomes the one to translate it. And at first she's like, well, I could add so much to this, like telling her thoughts to Babbage and stuff. And he's like, make notes, add your own notes, do it. And so she's like, okay, I guess, but like, I'm not going to sign them though. Like, no one's going to take it seriously. I'm a woman. And her husband was like, you are signing that.
You protect yourself.
You are signing that. So she
Good for
signed
him.
it AAL.
Mm-hmm.
But her notes were 3 times longer than the original paper.
Wow. Than the paper?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's like, her translation was the same size as his paper, but her notes were 3 times longer in addition to the original paper.
That's insane.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like, she was just basically like, watch, bitch.
Well,
like,
she just
I'll
had such a vastly better understanding than he did. Like, he knew what he was talking about and he understood it well, but like, she just went above and beyond and knew it inside and out.
Right. She was able to pick it apart and be like, this is what you're missing.
Yeah. But it's really important that she did end up signing the papers because we would have just attributed it to Babbage. Like,
That's
ultimately,
so fucked. I mean, yeah.
Like, I'm glad she signed it, but we really would have. And a lot of people still are debating whether it was her or was Babbage or how much. Because it was definitely not 100% her, that wrote the papers because they just
100%
talked and collaborated
or
so
100%
much.
Babbage.
Well, no, it was for sure like at least 70% Ada.
Well, yeah,
but we don't know exactly.
Conversationally, like it was probably mostly her, but she was like, "Oh, Babbage said this." And
yeah,
this
there's
this.
also letter correspondence between them where they discuss it and like they're both like discussing their ideas and bringing new thoughts in. But it's like we don't know how much ultimately came from just Ada's brain or just Babbage's brain, but like
also, like
it's a collaboration.
It's a collaboration. Like he was involved enough. Like
yeah,
it was his idea.
He made the machine, so
so it's fine.
Well, they didn't make it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he conceptualized it.
Yes,
it was his idea.
Yeah. So not only does she like expand on Manabra's ideas and his like how it works, but she also goes into like beyond numerical calculations because that was all it was built to do, and it was literally this thing that was like the machine, the analytical engine. It was literally built to do like complex calculations.
It was like a really smart calculator.
Well, I mean, not really smart.
Well,
just really big. Like by our standards, not smart.
Okay, what for the time is what I mean.
Yes.
Like you can't just like I was gonna say you can't just plug it into like a table calculator.
Well, math is absolute, like, so it's just a way of calculating math.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But it was crazy. Like it took computers at the time were actually people that like put numbers into machines to get calculations.
Right.
Like that was the computer. But after the French Revolution, it was actually a lot of unemployed hairdressers.
Really?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Thanks for that tidbit. That's wow.
I know, that's what I'm here for. But yeah, so the way her brain worked was just so like everything was numbers. Everything could be classified by numbers and broken down by numbers, and it was just that's how the world worked. Everything. So she saw that the entire world could be numerically calculated, and this engine could be used to compose music, create images, like all sorts of things.
Like the Da Vinci.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I just picture her like a superhero, like with math vision or something, and every time she looks at something like, sorry, this is so stupid, but it's what my brain just did. But like being at like a cafe and like someone drops a croissant or something, and they just like it's just this math equation takes over the screen of like the velocity of the croissant and like the curvature, and she can just like swoop in and catch it perfectly because she knows.
That would be her superpower.
Just the math superhero.
Catch anything before it falls to the ground.
Yeah. But so she even thought as far as to say that we could make numerical maps of the brain and trace like neural pathways and things like that and diagnose illnesses, and just it was beyond revolutionary.
Yeah, that's huge.
Like no one had even thought we could like
everyone's like internal plumbing is hard.
Yeah,
we don't
exactly. It's
and
crazy.
She's sitting here making computers.
But yeah, it was just, I think so much of her thinking and how she was able to do all this came because she had such a poetic mind from her father and such a creativity, but then she also had the severe mathematical, analytical mind. So it was just such a combination that like perfectly lined up for her to be able to see things that no one else could see.
Yeah. Because she's her superpower.
So her like incredible ability to decipher patterns from nothing is what made her most famous and earned her the title of the world's first computer programmer. She was inspired by the Jacquard loom, the first automated loom, which used a punch card system to like designate which needles and hooks and like they would be used and like the sets of threads and how they were added. And this made it like fantastically easy to create complex woven patterns in like a short amount of time.
Right.
And she saw like an automated system doing that, and it just piqued like her curiosity. She saw this as a system that could be used to propel the analytical machine forward, like what her and Babbage were working on. In her notes on the Minabra paper, she actually proposed a plan for a similar system to be used with an unbuilt engine. She even drew diagrams on how it would all look, work, and like act if it was implemented. Nowadays, we would not call this a program, but at the time, this is just like what, you know, is like she's thinking of. It's like mind-boggling. It's boggling.
Right. Like, it's like code. But
Yeah.
So it was Benui numbers. I don't know what those are. I don't know what they
I
mean.
like that word though.
I apologize. Yeah, it's a fun word, but they're Benui numbers, and they were also on punch cards, and you would have to stack them properly to do the first set of equations, and it would like read them, and then you would restack them, and it would read those, and then like at the end of each set, it would print a number that would dictate how you stacked them for the next set.
See, and like
And it's really complicated,
it's a lot.
and I can't even figure out how to work the machine,
Right.
let alone like how to get an answer.
Just do all
like,
of this. And that's the thing is like obviously I wasn't there, I wasn't alive at this time. Our idea of computers is so beyond different of how those work, but I can't
Right.
even like conceptualize in my mind how this machine would have even worked, let alone been the one to be aha.
Yeah, dude, and literally it would have been 90 feet long, like the big one that they had
Jesus
in mind.
Christ.
It's like 10 feet tall and probably like 4 or 5 feet wide.
Yeah.
You got to think that they have all the individual parts working together
Well, yeah.
to try to,
90 feet, that's longer than our apartment building. Like, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's also super heartbreaking that she had all these big dreams and all these thoughts, but it like literally never came to fruition with all the,
None of them.
like all the time that she put into creating this and like thinking about it, and it's like.
They're like, cool, well, what was the point of that, almost?
Right,
You know?
I mean, and it's not just like, say you or I like have like a project at work that we need to get done.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, oh man, I got it done in 2 weeks instead of 1 week.
Oh,
I'm
no.
such a failure.
She's like, I literally dedicated my life, and none of these have ever actually happened. It's all just on paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so frustrating. Yeah, we'll let that.
It's really frustrating.
Dude, yeah. I can't. Like, I get frustrated at work if, like, my to-do list for the day turns into something totally different, and I didn't even touch my to-do list.
Right.
Yeah,
Let
dude.
alone dedicating your life to something and just constantly just, I mean, getting shot down, really, like, it comes down to money and people being interested and people able to build it for you.
Right.
Well, dude, and it's even worse because when Babbage denied her plea to get to try and get the funding,
that was like her chance.
Well, yeah, so she was like, fuck it, I'm not giving up my chance. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get some money. So she goes to the horse tracks and she started betting. And she wasn't even betting on horses. She was betting that her math was better than the bookies' math.
So she was just going and running her own like side gamble.
Yeah, she was trying to.
Right.
That did not pan out.
Uh-oh.
It did not go well. She literally lost $3,200 on one horse one time. She had to sell her family jewels, diamonds, which I guess was a big thing back then. That seems like such a weird concept nowadays.
Now,
but like,
that was huge. That was like your wealth was something tangible. Like it wasn't like Bill Gates' bank account at Chase Bank or whatever. Like it's in your home. It's there.
Yeah, she owed like a lot of money to some really sketchy people, and she didn't end up telling her family for like a long time. And at this point, she had like 3 young kids and a husband, and
I mean, I get that though. She was probably ashamed, that she.
Well, and I don't think she wanted to bring them into it, so they didn't go like looking to try to pay it off and meet them and find out, oh, it's way more than she said.
She didn't want to like be saved, like she wanted to just handle the situation.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't go well. And at the same time as all of this was happening, she was also becoming like pretty addicted to opiates.
Oh no.
And having like massive mood changes and like personality changes and all sorts of things like that. But like they were doctor prescribed. It wasn't just her like out on the streets doing it. Like she got them from a doctor, and it was a continuing issue. So it wasn't just like, oh, they stopped giving them to me and I I didn't stop taking them. Like,
Right.
they were continuing to prescribe them.
Because she was like sick her whole life.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She was like a pretty sickly, like, young child, and she was
Mhm.
indoors and studied a lot, and then, like, finally got healthy enough to go to Europe.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Well,
So-
I mean, you know, the mainland of Europe.
Right. Yeah.
So after all this, like, you know, thought processes and research and information that she's putting out there, she's been like in pain for a while now. So like that also kind of applied to like the opiates that she was taking.
Right.
And she got pneumonia, she got all sorts of other like illnesses, but incredibly when she started like studying all the effects the drugs were having on her physically and mentally, she kept a log of all the symptoms and emotional changes, like wrote it all down onto how she was feeling because there was so many.
Right.
You know, I take the drug, I feel good. I don't take the drug, I feel fine. But the next day I don't take it, and I feel terrible. And,
Right.
she was steadily kind of going like insane, to be honest, because what with her being addicted to opiates and then like also just like how complex her mind was. But she still managed to scientifically like study herself, even with
That's
everything
so
that's
cool.
going on. Yeah,
That's so cool, dude. Like,
because she thought it would help.
Right.
Something.
Well, like,
Or
she's,
people in the future.
yeah,
And
she
she
was
was
like
just,
losing herself to drug addiction, and then also like the who knows like the concentration of opiates at that time. They're bad now, but at the time, like they were still giving kids like straight cocaine for a cough, like you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So who knows what she was really exposing herself to, and she had the wherewithal to document that.
and like in detail too. Like Julia was just saying, I have a bad day or I have a good day. It was literally like, this day I took this much and it did this and I felt this high for this long and like crazy. Like
That's huge.
my personality was like this today. These were my emotions and
Wow.
This is how I felt about this. This is what I thought about during the day. This is how I cared about things.
Right.
I sweated a lot today.
Yeah.
I peed a lot today.
Which I don't know like how well published or anything and stuff like that is, but I would imagine that like contributed a lot to just like the opiate research to a point,
Yeah.
you know, being able
So-
to log all of that.
Actually, almost everything Ada has ever written, including like personal letters between her and her mom and Babbage, are you can view them online.
They're all public domain.
Yeah,
Nice.
they're I think it's through a specific university.
That's
I'll find
fascinating.
it.
Yeah, let me know. That's fascinating. That sounds super cool. I mean, it sucks that was her like real life, but it sounds
Yeah.
it sounds valuable.
I mean, it was valuable up until November 27th, 1852.
No!
So,
Guys,
November 27th,
she did. This is, she died.
1852, Ada Augusta King, the Countess of Lovelace, died of what was probably uterine cancer.
Oh, no shit. I really thought you were going to say, like, opiate overdose or something.
No.
Oh, damn.
She was only 36 years old, which was
Oh
the
my
same
God.
age as her father,
Weird.
whom she was buried next to per her last request. Even though she never knew her father, she requested to be buried right next to him.
And that was kind of offensive because she had a plot next to her husband, like there.
No, dude, like, I bet her husband was pissed. Like, I've been here for you your whole life, and he left you.
But she just had this weird fascination and obsession with him.
I don't think the husband was. Like, I think it was
Really?
kind of like a slight to the family, but I think him and her mom both were pretty understanding, and they're
Well, yeah,
the two that made it happen.
They probably knew her well enough to, like, understand that that was just something
Yeah.
she chased in her life.
Yeah.
It was, like, understanding and probably wanting to be closer to him. So.
Well, and she had such an influence on so many people. Like, even Charles Dickens wrote her, or, like, read her a passage that he wrote on her deathbed.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
huge.
I mean, and it just stinks because, like, her achievements and acknowledgement wasn't recognized for, like, over 100 years.
Well, and it's shitty because, like, I think part of that is due to the fact that nothing she did was, this isn't a not, like, say what I mean to say, but, like, nothing she did was ever tangible. Like, none of the things that she had, and none
Other
of these
than like her
ideas.
writings, yeah.
Yeah, like none of them happened in the world. Like the world wasn't able to have the shock and awe of like the world's first calculating machine or fucking Pegasus is, like
Yeah.
that wasn't there to move it forward.
Like an outcome.
It's almost like though the world wasn't ready for her. Like
Yeah.
it absolutely wasn't.
It wasn't.
Imagine if she had been born in like 1900. Like where would we be right now?
Honestly,
so
we
much
wouldn't,
farther
we
advanced.
wouldn't have like fucking. I mean, sorry, Steve Jobs is dead, but we wouldn't have like Steve Jobs and fucking Bill Gates and these people. Like we would have Ada Lovelace, and that's so crazy to think about because they really just weren't ready for her. No one was willing to say like, dude, I think you're fucking onto something. Like, let's make it happen. Everyone was kind of like, fascinating, but.
But it's a little
That's
too,
like
out there
pretty
for us.
far-fetched, you know? There were like people thinking we were gonna walk like with balloon supports on lakes. I just saw that the other day. That's sad.
I mean, she is remembered today, so even if it wasn't recognized at the time when everything was going down,
right? She got it.
In the 1970s, the U.S. military actually named like a very early computer program after her.
That's awesome.
It's called Ada.
I think it's a coding system.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, honestly, like, what do you guys all think? Like, if she were to have gotten the funding to build the machine, like, what do you think would have happened to society, to the people around, to our society nowadays? Do you think it would have advanced it, made a difference at all? I mean, and, like, would we be better off? Also, we want to know, like, do you guys think that she would have gotten any farther as a man of that time?
That's a good point. Yeah. We want to hear opinions on that because it's, obviously, what's his nuts? Babbage, the tact to like get after it and get what he needed. So I don't know, like maybe she had the advantage of being a woman, but at the same time, I feel like everyone was like patting her on the head and being like, "Good job, good job using your brain, sweetheart."
That's actually a really good point because at one point she was told, she's like denied entry to a school or something like that, and they said. Her frail constitution as a woman would not allow her to do the strenuous work required in an engineering program.
Like, yeah, okay. Because that's what pictures.
Yeah.
Them just, like, being like, oh, it's good to have dreams, sweetie. Like, shit like that. Instead of being like, you're a fucking genius.
Or way to help Charles.
Yeah, yeah. Way to, good job writing his notes. Like, rather than being like, you could change this whole fucking world.
Yeah.
Because, like, we, who knows, with her advancements, we could have been, like, where we are technologically right now 100 years ago, like.
Yeah. Had we let her get on with it.
I mean, if you think about how much we've advanced in just the past
20
years.
In our lifetime, dude. Like, when we were kids.
I was just talking about going to Blockbuster.
Yeah, none of this shit exists. Like, that's why everyone talks about, like, the nostalgic 90s kids. But it really, we grew up with one entire lifetime, and our adult lives is totally different. It's totally different.
My little brother is only 10 years younger than I am, and he has never known that side. He's never known pagers or cassette tapes or
nothing. I know my sister's 8 years
DVDs.
younger than me, and she literally, I had to tell her what a VHS was 2 years ago. Because she had them all at her dad's house, and she was like, I don't know what they are.
That's so crazy.
And I'm like, I literally watched my mom get her first cell phone at the age of, like, fucking 27.
Well, and also, like, what do you think Ada Lovelace would think of us as a society with our pocket computers?
She'd be so stoked. She'd have the biggest heart on for where we're at right now.
Or do you think that she'd be disappointed
she'd
be so disappointed in the everyday man, but I think she would have, like, the biggest, she'd just be like, what the fuck is this? It's in my hand?
Dude,
You're shitting me.
Can you imagine just, like, handing her, just open the calculator app on your phone and hand it to her, and she'd be like, what the fuck? Like, and then you'd be like, but wait, there's more.
And then just, like, open Google, just the Google bar. Be like, type anything you want to know.
Literally anything man knows.
Mechanical bird.
Type, how to fly.
Hold on, stop. Airplane?
She'd Google, who the fuck invented the mechanical bird? She'd be so mad.
Fuck, I crafted this
God
goddamn
did
bullshit.
that. Yeah, she would
No,
be
but
so
I mean,
mad.
do you also think that she'd be disappointed that we use our pocket
Oh, yeah.
computers
Oh,
for
yeah.
what we do?
Oh,
No, that's
we're
what I'm
idiots.
saying. Like, she'd be
We're
so
idiots.
disappointed in, like, the average everyday
Dude,
person.
we'd be like, also, so these are memes. And she'd be like, what the fuck, guys? Like,
I gave you science and you give me memes.
you guys have infinite knowledge at your fingertips, and all you're doing is sharing alternate names for Harry Potter movies. Like, what are you doing?
They're so good, though.
I think that she would be, like, obviously super stoked,
stoked.
but I think she'd be disappointed that we haven't advanced further because of it, you know? Like, we literally have the knowledge at our fingertips for anything, guys.
Well, and, like, honestly, with how, I mean, in the grand scheme of, like, the Earth, she wasn't that long ago. But as far as, like, technological advancements go, it was a long-ass time. So she'd probably be like, honestly, what the hell, guys?
Yeah.
It's been, like, 150 years.
She's like, I thought of this, like, 200 years before I got made.
She's like, what's the deal
What was the
with
hold
that?
up, everybody?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
It really came down to me being a woman. America?
You're right.
Okay, America. America, okay.
America, okay.
Or even not necessarily a woman, but it came down to you not believing in something that wasn't tangible.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, but I think she'd be proud.
She was British.
We're sorry, Ada. We're doing our best.
We're trying.
We really are.
What we're saying is pitter patter, let's get at her and learn.
use your Google for good things. Use it for the greater good.
If we could ask you guys to do one thing every single week, venture outside the unknown.
Yeah.
What's something that interests you? Say you're really into animals. Let me know all the specs on one animal per week.
Look it up. Learn it.
For us, I mean, we find these women in history so intriguing.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you
Look
find
it up.
something that interests you, like Nona, she's gotten really into plants lately, which is so cool. I mean, and she's truly grasping and utilizing that knowledge.
Yeah. You know,
I study a lot.
she's the exception because we love her and she's doing everything to the fullest, and she's changing her whole life, and it's beautiful and amazing. I can't do that. I'm a piece of trash a lot of the time. I'm like, wow, that's really useful information that could probably make my life a lot more valuable, but fun to know.
I appreciate you saying that after I cried at the dentist today.
Yeah, no, you do. So we, look it up. Personal challenge for us three and for everyone listening. Just look it up. Think of it and look it up.
And
Study one thing a week.
Yeah.
I have to say, Kayla, you can't discredit yourself so much. Like,
Aww, Julia.
you better yourself for the children that you work with every day so much that, I mean, it
Aw.
seriously melts my heart.
That's so sweet.
That's
Like,
true.
you
That's so
literally
nice.
find different ways, and, like, being thrust into positions that you're not used to, and find different ways to, like, cope with different experiences. Dude,
Aw, that's so sweet. Thanks, guys.
it is.
Kayla's really helping out some little autistic
Aw.
kids, and it really melts my heart every day.
Oh, thanks, guys. You're so great. We're all pretty great. I love all my friends.
Julia's
All
also
our-
amazing.
I mean,
She knows
love
every construction licensing law for all 50
She does.
states plus
She
a
does.
province.
She does.
Puerto Rico, yeah.
None of us would really function without Julia. I don't think. She's
Yeah.
the glue a lot of the time.
I don't know. I think.
She's the one that keeps us on track.
Yeah, she does. She keeps us. You can thank Julia for keeping the podcast. Nona makes sure that we record. Julia makes sure that we record quality entertainment.
And not
And-
10-minute rambles like this.
Yeah.
And Kayla, she gives us the heart.
That's.
She's the humor.
I'm the drunk.
Out loud emojis.
But guys, we really appreciate you week in, week out. It
Yeah.
really means so much to us that you're taking a liking and an interest in what we have
Yeah.
to say.
We didn't think it was. We thought we were gonna talk to ourselves for 7 minutes.
Which is fine.
It's fine.
I mean, we talk to ourselves anyway.
We like talking to you guys a lot. So thank you. You're great.
We love you.
Bye.
Tenacious V's out. Thanks for listening to our episode about Ada Lovelace. If you liked this episode, be sure to give us a follow, like, or spread the word on Facebook, Spotify, Podbean, Instagram, or Twitter. This episode was written, recorded, and produced by Julia, Nona, and Kayla. All musical contributions were made by Staple Milk. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and remember, always stay tenacious.